people tease me at work because I love brunch, but for me that's breakfast. You know, I wake up at 11 or 12 because I work. Now I work a night shift, but it can work into your favor in that, for example, my girlfriend is a 9 to 5, so during the week we just never really see each other, and that might be a good thing. It might be.
I'll agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. You find your niche, and you find people who work well with that schedule. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Well, and when you're in these smaller markets, everyone is from somewhere else. No one is really from there at that station. I mean, there are some locals that work there, normally behind the scenes because it's a job, it's a resource for them, but most of the people on air, they're from somewhere else. They miss their family and their friends too, so you bond with them in that way. But I had no social life for years. Yeah. And then eventually I would just force myself to fit it in some way, somehow, and then you balance it eventually.
Yeah. Thanksgiving with the news family is always fun.
Yeah.
Oh, you always work on holidays.
Yeah, you always work holidays.
Always.
You don't get them off.
There are no such thing as holidays
right.
in radio or TV. It's just like movie theaters. We're always open.
Yeah.
Right. I worked on Thanksgiving. I'll work on Christmas. You know.
And you kind of trade it off. You know, it's okay. Well, okay, I'll work Thanksgiving if I get Christmas off, or I'll work Christmas if I get New Year's off, and sometimes you don't get any of them off. But
not your first year.
No, no. You are reminded very quickly that you love this job, right? You want to be here, right? You love this industry. You love doing it. It's news. So you learn to adjust. You learn to adapt. You have to.
So now we're going to move on to technology. And earlier you had, Melissa, you mentioned the different technological advances that have been brought into the newsroom and how it's changed over time. And I know that it's just going to continue to keep changing. Gail Moscoso over here has questions based off of that.
Okay. Journalism has been forced to adapt to the digital age. How has the introduction of new technology changed the way news has been presented in your respective markets?
It's easier. When I started off 3/4-inch deck to DVC Pro to a system now called Aurora, which is like Avid or Final Cut Pro, but better. It's easier now, so you can switch out a track or a soundbite within seconds, and you can make the product look better because you have certain effects that you can do with the digital that you could not do on tape. So, you're more efficient, you're faster, and it looks better.
One of the reasons I did not get into TV news at the time was because it was difficult to just turn a story around. You have these huge cameras and this huge deck over here, and you had to get some guy to shoot this and move it over here, and he had to edit it, just all this different stuff. Whereas in radio, at the time, it was just a tape deck. You take it back, you put it on the radio. That's all you did. Now, like she said, it's so much easier to get a story on the air, whether it's TV or radio or newspaper. Because newspaper, they had to go out and interview a subject, go back to the newsroom, type it up, and now you could just. I was on the campaign trail last year, and people are taking dictation with their BlackBerries to just automatically get it on the web. And so technology has made our jobs so much easier.
At the same time to that, I'll go with it. It has made our jobs easier. At the same time, we were talking earlier, the cell phone, we've been given cell phones at my station because cell phones are the new technology. You can take video with cell phones. You can take the pictures with the cell phones. You can shoot your stories. It's been done on an iPhone where they've shot a story on the cell phone. But what's happened with that also is it creates, I don't want to say it creates more work, it does, but it creates getting the story there faster at the same time. At least at my station, we're now required when we go out on stories to shoot video of the story that on our cell phone, not the video that's going to make our story on air at all, but just video on cell phone, which is automatically updated to the website. So there's new content on the web, and viewers or surfing the web can see, oh, here's what they're doing tonight. Oh, here's what they're doing. Oh, they were in my city today, and I can see that he was in my city today. It has created that. At the same time, also, the technology, I think at smaller stations, I haven't worked at the bigger stations, but at least at my station, the technology has been great with getting cameras that don't use tape, laptop editors that edit very fast, much faster than Final Cut, souped up versions of Final Cut, but at the same time, it's also taken away jobs. We've gotten rid of a lot of jobs, at least at my station, due to that, because you don't need as many people to complete the same job as you did before.
And I agree with that. That's the fear. On the one hand, it makes our job easier, and there's more pressure to get it out somewhere, somehow, because there's so many different forms that you can broadcast live now, so many little gadgets, and it makes your life easier day to day, but it's also jeopardizing jobs, and you fear, and you see this, you know, where's the industry going down the line. I mean, also one thing to look into, since we're on this topic, as you enter the workforce, is perhaps going away from local affiliates and considering cable, because, you know, with the rumors of are we all going back to one-man band type of VJ situations in the bigger markets, what does this mean for local affiliates who are losing ratings and losing money, and it's jeopardizing jobs? And so what seems to be booming is cable, and that's something you want to consider as well.
And technology is also in some way making our jobs a little harder, because people take it upon themselves to use technology such as Twitter. There, I said the T word. I'm sorry. Yes, I know. It only took 25 minutes for us to get to Twitter. But for example, I showed up at work one day, and somebody had posted on their Twitter an Amber Alert in Southern California, and several other people had reposted that. And I immediately called, or I kind of shouted it out to the newsroom. I said, "Hey, we've got this Amber Alert. What's on this person's Twitter?" There was no Amber Alert. It was completely false. It was completely made up. People die on Twitter every week who not even close to that. So the technology that helps us do our jobs and helps us get information out there is also getting in the way sometimes, because people take what they see online, or they take what they see in certain places as fact and face value, when that's not the case.
At our station, we have a street team, it's called. Send us your video. Send us the photos you take of a fire igniting right before your eyes. And although, that can get your material out there because we source you, and anyone can do the technology side, but nobody can tell a story properly without the education, the training, and the experience. So that's when good old-fashioned, storytelling and writing skills will always make you shine, despite how technology is going with the industry. If you can tell a story, you're golden, and that's why it's so important to master those skills, because technology will always surpass us, but not everyone can tell a story.
Back to the basics.
Right.
Yeah, the technology can only get you so far.
Mm-hmm. In the future, is it possible that news will be presented only through the internet?
I think so. I mean, way in the future.
Yeah, way in the future. There's too much corporate money tied up in TV stations.
Advertising,
all the advertising, all these different things. It's right now it's complementary to what's on TV. I don't imagine anytime soon. It's.
I hope not.
Put this down in pause.
I hope not, because I think aside from the advertising dollars and the jobs and people, I think it just takes away from competition at the same time, and it would take away from that competition. If we are all kind of one on the internet, what's going to stop anybody from sharing anything at that point? Where's going to be the journalism that you strive to get, the story, the digging for the stories? I think it would be kind of a mess if it ended up. I really hope it doesn't go that way.
But it's good to know that venue.
And a few years ago, people were wondering whether internet radio was going to, or satellite radio was going to kill terrestrial radio. And now XM and Sirius are flailing, and internet radio is good, but if you're in your car, there's only a few options on the radio, on actual terrestrial radio. They can tell you why you're stuck in traffic. They can tell you, what's burning, that you see the smoke 10 miles ahead, or what just happened with this terrorist attack here or there.